And we begin the news at this hour by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has confirmed Nigeria will hail thee as the country's latest national anthem when he joined a joint sitting of the National Assembly to mark the Silver Jubilee of Nigeria's fourth republic. The occasion coincided with the first anniversary of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the sitting was primarily to launch the new national anthem, explaining that the president would not be making a speech because he has to leave to launch the Abuja Metro line.
This institution, the hallowed chamber, represents our consciousness for freedom and sense of belonging. You rang out the latest national anthem. Nigeria will hail thee. See, this is our diversity, representing all characters. And how we blend together to be brothers and sisters. Without this house, probably I may not find a path to the presidency. I started all from here.
Meanwhile, News Central's television is undertaking a review of the current administration's pledge to ensure that it upholds the rule of law in the country. Our correspondent Joshua Imarayi takes us through the last 12 months of the government and tells us more.
On May 29, 2023, Nigeria's newly inaugurated President Bola Tinubu made a pledge to citizens, marking a significant moment in the country's history.
Nigeria will be impartially governed according to the rule of law.
Yet, a string of crucial developments has raised questions about the viability of President Tinubu's pledge, shrouding his administration prospect in uncertainty and falling concerns about its ability to follow the rule of law. On the 25th of July 2023, the Department of State Services rearrested Nigeria's former governor of the nation's apex central bank, Godwin Emefiele, defying a court order for his release. The situation at the court premises quickly degenerated into a fracas between prison officials and officers from Nigeria's secret police, the DSS. These incidents served as the first major test of the rule of law under the administration of President Bola Tinubu.
They prevent the court order from being fulfilled. That is another kettle of fish that we will have to interrogate in due course. That is now contempt of the court order.
Despite that, nothing was done to those involved. Emefiele spent a total of 151 days in the custody of security agencies from June 10 to November 8 before being remanded on November 18 at the Kuje Correctional Center. He was released after spending 34 days in detention. Another case to note was the arrest of the former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdurrashid Bawa. Following a prolonged period of detention, the DSS released the former chairman after he spent 134 days in their custody. Bawa's release marked the end of a tumultuous tenure marked by controversies and allegations of financial misconduct.
Initially, when Fagbemi was appointed, we saw the body language of the government. The government was not going to condone human rights violations in the country. And we saw this by him directing SSS to comply, that all security agencies must comply with rule of law and all that. We also felt that Bola Tinubu, as somebody who had done a lot in the Nadeko days, and his exile during the Abacha era, that he was coming on board as someone who will not tolerate any form of human rights violations. But almost everywhere you turn in the country, you see one form of violation or the other.
Cases of press freedom were not excluded, with journalists facing arrest and detention under the 2015 Cybercrime Act. Two notable cases include the arrest of Segun Olatunji, editor of the First News, who was taken from his Lagos home on March 15 by military personnel and held incommunicado in Abuja for several days before his release. During his detention, Journalist Union and his media organization advocated tirelessly for his freedom.
I think I blame the security agencies. It's like they are overzealous. They are overzealous in carrying out their duties. Because sometimes most of these things happen behind the eyes or even the ears of the political leaders.
Another instance was the arrest of Daniel Ojukwu, a journalist with the Foundation for Investigative Journalism. Ojukwu was picked by the intelligence response team of the Inspector General of Police and transferred to Abuja. This sparked a protest at the force headquarters. Pro-transparency groups and media practitioners say his arrest highlights the ongoing challenges to press freedom in the country and the president's disposition to using security agencies to subvert the rights of perceived critics of the government.
It's not about Daniel Ojukwu. They are after your jobs. They want to make sure that you cannot write what the police does not approve of. And your job as journalists is to expose, is to shine light on the government. Your jobs are guaranteed in the Nigerian Constitution, their so-called 1999 Constitution. Just as the police has a constitutional right to do what they are doing, journalists in Nigeria also have a constitutional right to write whatever they find necessary.
President Tinubu's inauguration came with promises to uphold the law. This definitely has been tested by a series of events, from the re-arrest of Godwin Emefiele to the detention of journalists like Segun Olatunji and Daniel Ojukwu. It is clear that the administration's commitment to its pledges has been called into question.
One of the greatest reforms we can have in Nigeria today is if it is possible for us to have reforms towards separating the office of the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice. Do you understand? Like we have in other climes. What that will do for us is that it will separate politics from administration of criminal justice or justice generally in the country.
As Nigeria continues on its path forward, it remains to be seen whether the government will prioritize the principle of justice, accountability, and press freedom that are fundamental to a healthy democracy. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Now joining me on the news to discuss this is lawyer Douglas Mbankwo. Douglas, good to have you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Let's get started, shall we? What legal frameworks has Tinubu advocated for or against in the past year? And how do these align with, the principles of the rule of law?
You know that the president of Nigeria is actually like the alter ego of the country, and most times he achieves his justice reform projects, so to speak, through the Attorney General of the Federation. And you realize that the Attorney General of the Federation is someone who is a seasoned legal practitioner, who has, while he was not going through clearance before the Senate, he raised some issues about the untoward activities of some institutions of states. And he did say that among his agenda is to ensure that institutions of the state adhere to the rule of law. I however want to say that under the control of the president of Nigeria, that there seems to be a misgrill in whether or not institutions of the states have adhered to the rule of law. Why in some instances there have been some institutions going overboard, like the very shameful situations you found at the Federal High Court, where the DSS and the Nigerian Correctional Service were fighting over who would have custody of the former central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele. That was a sore point in, the administration, because it actually indicated that there seemed not to be a symmetry or some kind of a cooperation between the different institutions in the Nigerian security architecture. Having said that, another aspect of the Nigerian, the rule of law spectrum that we need to talk about is how institutions of states obeyed court orders. We would say that there have been some instances where there was obedience of court order, and there were some instances where there was disobedience of court order. And I would want to, however, say that when it comes to whether or not there's been a change in the way that the state actors in Nigerian security architecture has behaved in terms of adherence to the rule of law, I'll tell you plainly that it has been business as usual. There have been no change, and there have not been any kind of deterrence in terms of saying, okay, if you disobey the court order, the Attorney General of the Federation will come and say, this chairman of this institution, or this director general, or this inspector general, or this chief of whether army, naval, or air staff, this is what we are going to do to punish you for not adhering to the rule of law. So I would say when it comes to adherence to the rule of law, it has been business as usual. As a matter of fact, I was even a victim
Douglas,
of some kind of attack myself.
Douglas, you just gave instances, right? And you also just said, talked about the administration for the last 1 year, and instances where the rule of law seemed to not be in favourance of, these instances. But can Tinubu's actions or statements be interpreted as setting precedents for the application or interpretation of the rule of law in Nigeria? And if so, what implications does it have for the legal landscape so far in Nigeria?
And that's a very brilliant question, I would say. Now, unlike the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, which was quite defiant of the rule of law, former President Muhammadu Buhari coming to the NBA National Conference and saying just before the body of lawyers that the rule of law is subject to national interest, which is not the law. The rule of law is something that is on its own scale. It's sui generis. The reason we insist that there should be rule of law is so that the strong and the weak should be protected. It is in the interest of those in power to enforce the rule of law, so that when they act of power, the rule of law would protect them. When you protect the rule of law while you are in office, the rule of law will protect you out of office. Talking about the president himself, I would say the president has had a very, strong advocates of the rule of law in terms of his words. Now, whether or not Mr. President have translated that in terms of the action, his action rather, it's a different ballgame, as that could only be demonstrated by the institutions of states adhering to the rule of law.
Douglas.
A situation where, for example, an institution will seize a truck on the way, like in a Gestapo style, take it to their facility, and the next 2 days you come, they will say that they have burnt the truck. That is not the kind of society we want to live.
Douglas,
we're
pressed for time.
Such a story.
Douglas,
you seize a truck on the highway.
Douglas,
you take it to your facility.
Douglas, we have to go now because we're pressed for time. But many thanks for your insights on just the rule of law in the last 1 year. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we'll still continue with our series on the 365 days of President Tinubu's led administration and all of the dividends, so to speak, when it comes to that administration or the last 1 year in office. But in the meantime, we switch gears now to Kano, which is the north central or northeast Nigeria, where Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, has summoned the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court and the Chief Judge of Kano State High Court over conflicting interim injunctions regarding the Kano Emirate, causing uncertainty in the state. The Federal High Court in Kano, presided over by Justice S.A. Amobida, issued an order for the eviction of Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II from the Kaufa Kudu Palace, reinforcing the authority of the fifth Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. On the other hand, the Kano State High Court, under the jurisdiction of Justice Amina Adamu Aliyu, issued an injunction to protect Muhammadu Sanusi and other key figures from potential harassment by state authorities. And now joining me on the news to discuss this is News Central's Emmanuel Bugoda. He is live in Kano State, I beg your pardon, and has been following this story as it unfolds. Emmanuel, I understand you've been waiting for quite a while. Thank you so much for just, being on top of the news. Tell us, what update do you have for us all the way from Kano?
Yeah, good afternoon. A very important update as this morning. Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf have banned public gathering that is related to protest. Officially, for now, he has banned protest activities till further notice. And that has actually brought calmness. The atmosphere is so serene right now, no any tension any longer. So even the home of the Aminu Ado Bayero at the Gidan Nasarawa Palace, the supporters have to leave and go back to their houses since they may be tempted to protest, since there is now a ban in protest. So the house is empty, just police officers guiding him. And I just went to the palace of Sanusi, where we are told that since there's a ban in protest, all the celebrations should calm down and there shouldn't be any form of noise. So that's the situation right now. The governor has banned protests. Any gathering that is related to protest is banned for now in Kano. That is the latest update. Thank you.
What do you make of these conflicting orders from the courts? One is for, one is against. What do you make of it? And now that the Chief Justice has now summoned both judges, what do you make of these conflicting orders?
Yes. It's very, in fact, it has an impact as to what is happening right now in Kano, because all of them have heard the news. And because while each member of the divide, each group from the divide, that's Sanusi and Ado Bayero, relying on their court judgment, most of them are aware right now that there is a move by the CJN to try to reconcile those judgments. So they are aware that as we speak, it's more like saying the matter is in court, since the CJN is already making a move to summon the two judges, the two head of courts, to sort the matter. So a lot of them are aware. That has actually impacted in their manner, in the way they relate, because a lot of spoke to them today and they said that the matter, as far as they're concerned, the matter is still in court. So I think that is the situation as regarding that issue. Everyone here is calm. Everyone here is keeping their fingers crossed to see what happens from the summon the CJN made to the Kano State High Court Chief Judge and that of the Federal High Court Chief Judge. Yeah.
The residents of Kano State and also indigents as well, with the ban of the protest and now the conflicting court orders, you say things are calm, but do you think that the protest will have some sort of leeway in how resolving all the conflicting court orders in this matter?
You asked, sorry, I didn't get that question right. Can you just...
I was saying that with the residents protesting, with, them against and for, do you think that all of the sentiments by the indigents or of the indigents of Kano State and residents of Kano State, do you think they will have some sort of leeway or some influence over the resolving of these conflicting court orders?
Yes, the conflicting court order, in fact, is not... most of them are aware because, different court orders have been coming out. The two conflicting court orders are actually the subject of discussion right now. And it came at the right time where the governor actually banned protest activities to avoid confusion. Because the beginning, why we had this protest was because protesters from the beginning actually were protesting because they saw a court order that actually says that their favorite emir, their favorite principal is the rightful emir of the state. So that is the reason why they are actually protesting. So, but coming to have knowledge of the fact that there is another court order, and then the Chief Justice of the country is trying to reconcile the matter, is already into the matter, that has given them reasons to calm down, because a lot of them spoke about that. So there is not any reason for any protest, since the two judgments are already being contested. The two judgments are already they are on their way to being reconciled.
Emmanuel, you seem to get you seem to get my question wrong. I was asking if, with their protest and the sentiments of the people, do you think it will have any influence in the resolving of the conflicting court order? Do you think the residents or the sentiments of the people towards who their favorite emir is, will it have any influence in resolving the court orders?
Of course. It will certainly have. In one way or the other, it will have, because what we're looking at here is that the main reason why the people, the citizens from the Ado Bayero side are protesting is the fact that they believe that the judgment that was delivered by the Federal High Court has actually authenticated their favorite candidate, which is Ado Bayero. So if at all we have a final resolution that is not a win-win for anybody, we should expect some reactions. We should expect some reactions from the other side. So, but we expected that the judiciary, in their wisdom, will be able to come up with something that will not result to any kind of trouble. Because I believe, because the reason why the people are very calm right now is because of that confidence they have in the judiciary, that confidence they have in the entire justice system. That's the reason why I think they are convinced to relax. So I don't think we should expect a lot of reactions as far as the resolution is on the way.
Emmanuel, many thanks. We appreciate you. We'll definitely come back to you if there's more updates. But many thanks again for doing this with us.
Thank you.
And that's Emmanuel Bugudu, our correspondent live from Kano, just following the unfolding or developing story as it concerns the Emirates in Kano State. You're watching News Now on News Central TV. We're going on a short break. Stay with us. As Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu completes his first year in office, Nigerians have given their ratings on how the president has fared, especially as it concerns economic policies and its impact on the cost of living on an average citizen. From the removal of fuel subsidies to an increase in electricity tariffs and the rising cost of food items, among others. News Central's Adeshewa Odushoga reports.
Judging by the dramatic election that ushered President Bola Tinubu into office, the expectations of his reign were met with mixed feelings. While his supporters were banking on the promises made during the campaign, others were either angry or pessimistic that their most preferred candidate did not emerge as president.
People are crying that even when we came out to vote, to participate in this election with everything that makes us us, and then eventually you go back and then you manipulate and you want to do whatever you want to do, then what are you telling us?
But the optimism of some of his supporters seemed to be short-lived, as President Bola Tinubu, in his inauguration speech, announced the removal of fuel subsidy.
No provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
This, many believed, prompted instant inflation and uncertainty in the consumer market, with fuel prices shooting up as high as 200%.
Before, we do buy fuel at the rate of 185, and if I should buy fuel for 185, I do buy 5 litre, let me say 750. And if I should use that 5 litre, I will use it to make 6,000 naira every blessed day. But now I'm buying fuel at the rate of 2,500 for 5 litres. My own income is not even coming out again.
Like this, you can wait for NEPA from 1 day to even 3 days. We don't go see light. But later we are going by the generator. Now I'm using this energy before. When the cost of diesel is too much, I turn to petrol. Now the petrol now is too high.
As a result of the increase in the price of petrol, the effect started to spiral down to the prices of commodities, especially food prices, which were already on the high side due to the lingering insecurity in the northern part of the country. Markets across Nigeria started to record fewer customers and diminishing patronage amidst rising prices.
Tẹ́lẹ̀ ara basket tomato 3,500 3,000 nísìnyí ó ti di 30 o ẹ gbà wá o. Màlúù 300 gbà yẹn ńlá ni nísìnyí màlúù 1.3 1.4 bá ṣe ń rà sí nìyẹn.
As part of its economic policies, the president floated the foreign exchange market and equally raised the electricity tariff by 300% for consumers on Band A. These are people who are categorized as those who enjoy electricity supply for more than 20 hours a day. According to Nigeria's Electricity Regulatory Agency, only about 12 million people.
If I should buy fuel for 185, I do buy 5 litre, let me say 750. And if I should use that 5 litre, I will use it to make 6,000 naira every blessed day. But now I'm buying fuel at the rate of 2,500 for 5 litres. My own income is not even coming out again.
Like this, you can wait for NEPA from 1 day to even 3 days. We don't go see light. But later we are going by the generator. Now I'm using diesel engine before. When the cost of diesel is too much, I turn to petrol. Now the petrol now is too high.
As a result of the increase in the price of petrol, the effect started to spiral down to the prices of commodities, especially food prices, which were already on the high side due to the lingering insecurity in the northern part of the country. Markets across Nigeria started to record fewer customers and diminishing patronage amidst rising prices.
Tẹ́lẹ̀ ara basket tomato 3,500 3,000 nísìnyí ó ti di 30 o ẹ gbà wá o. Màlúù 300 gbà yẹn ńlá ni nísìnyí màlúù 1.3 1.4 bá ṣe ń rà sí nìyẹn.
As part of its economic policies, the president floated the foreign exchange market and equally raised the electricity tariff by 300% for consumers on Band A. These are people who are categorized as those who enjoy electricity supply for more than 20 hours a day. According to Nigeria's Electricity Regulatory Agency, only about 12 million people are connected to the power grid, of whom 1.5 million are categorized under the Band A.
Whilst the intention was good, that communication was very it was a misfit, number one, for that type of occasion. Two, at that level of sensitivity of the Nigerian economy. Do not forget that we're still dealing with the impact of the naira scarcity and impact of general elections on consumer prices and all of that. And we're already dealing with the rising inflation and all that. So I felt that that policy could have been introduced, but in much more phased stages. And that's one. Number two, the policy was not introduced with possible alternatives. There has to be alternatives.
1 year on, Nigerians are asked to give their ratings on how the president has fared so far as it affects their cost of living.
This is the worst since I was born. I've never seen a thing like this before. So bad, there's nothing to see. In fact, nothing to write home about what is going on now.
25,000. I ní kó gàwa fi kówó kò fi kówó owó yìí ò tó ra ń jẹ débi pé ìkànnà ọmọ tèmi tẹ̀ ti stop school.
President Bola Tinubu is expected to complete his first 4-year term in office in 2027, with another 4 years if re-elected till 2031 in accordance with the Constitution. Although the president has continued to plead for patience, assuring that the dwindling economy will be back on its feet, for Nigerians, they will have to wait to see how long this pain will last. In Lagos, for News Central, Adeshewa Odushoga.
To discuss this further with me is public affairs commentator Jide Johnson, and he joins me live in the studio. Jide, thank you so much for your patience and just sticking around. Let's get started. What specific economic indicators have shown changes in the cost of living under Tinubu's administration in the past year?
First and foremost, good day to our viewers all over the world, and thank you for having me. Well, invariably, if you look from the report that provide the background for our discussion, virtually every sector of Nigeria has felt the impact of one, the removal of fuel subsidy, two, the floating of the exchange rate of the naira, and three, the introduction of different types of tariff, the educational removal of the increase in the tariff of electricity bill, and that of removal of increase in the student fees across federal institutions, and the introduction of student loan. All of these has had a reverberating effect on the economy. One, it has pushed up the cost of living, which invariably has also reduced the standard of living. And all of these policies are meant to drive the revenue generation goal of this particular administration. I think the focus of this administration, the economic thrust, is about revenue generation. And don't forget that when you put in place different form of taxation, either direct or indirect taxation, it will affect the overall economy, because it will affect the capacity of the economy to be productive, because it will restrict the capacity of people to get credit to expand their businesses across various sectors. So as far as I'm concerned, in the last 1 year, it's been pretty difficult for an average Nigerian. You could see the inflationary effect. I think inflation is about 33 to 35% now compared to what you have a year ago.
Right. Let's talk about the impact, right? Can you analyze the impact of government policies implemented by Tinubu's administration on consumer purchasing, power and overall cost of living? And so in this case, we're talking, the floating of the naira and these other policies, but I will let you take that, please.
Yeah, like I pointed out, you see, look, you have a situation, the policies, like I said, are focused on revenue generation. Don't forget that Nigerian economy is a service economy. Service economy in the sense that the sector that are actually making money are not the productive sector. It's just the service sector, the banking sector, the telecom sector. As a result of that, the productive arm of the economy is the manufacturing sector. What has happened to the manufacturing sector? First, you remove fuel subsidy. We saw the account of that welder that spoke about him transiting from power to diesel engine to petroleum engine, and invariably which has led to increases in the cost of production. So invariably it has impacted every sector. The prices that people pay for goods and services. You saw that cow seller. I said about a year ago it was 300,000. Now it's 1.3. You saw that woman, that tomato seller in the market, said that the basket of tomato used to be 3,000 naira. It's now 30,000 naira. So if you begin to look at it, you could see that it's about 1,000 increases in the price index of commodity goods. Now, if that's commodity goods, if you now look at the productive sector, for example, if you have an office and you have to power that your office with electricity, there's 300% increase in the electricity tariff. If you have to power it with diesel or with petrol, that you have also seen an increase from 148 to about 610, 650, 750, depending on where you are purchasing that particular product. So the policy has really affected every sector of the economy. There's no doubt about that. And when government comes in place and they talk about, we have done infrastructure, I usually tell people this: infrastructure is the ABC, is the 1, 2, 3 of public administration. Anybody can do infrastructure. What you should tell us is that in what way have you been able to drive the economy? In what way have you been able to drive the economy in such a way that, we have created this industrial estate. We are so number of companies have been established in the country, and they have created these employment opportunities in the last 1 year. Don't tell me that we have constructed 100 kilometers of road. We have built 1,000 units of housing. Those are ABCs of those can't drive your economy. What can drive your economy are the economic policies you put in place that empowers your manufacturing sector.
Speaking of economic policies, let's talk about the fiscal policy, right? So what role has fiscal policy? I mean, we look at the MPC meeting, the committee, their meetings that they've had, you know, Wale Edu, and even the governor of the CBN, and that's Cardoso. All the policies that they've introduced, are they played in addressing or even exacerbating the cost of living challenges that citizens faced or they're facing under this administration in the last year?
The policies have always been how to generate revenue. That's just
so they've not done anything exactly to even sort of alleviate
exactly what industrial estate has been established. What policies have they put in place to affect different sectors of the economy? Let's talk about the manufacturing sector. What policy? What we have seen in the last 1 year by this present administration is about imposing one form of taxation, about policies that will generate revenue for the government and not policies that will drive the economy. And it is the manufacturing sector that can drive the economy. It is not the service sector. We are focused more on the service sector at the expense of the manufacturing sector.
What's forcing the government to want to drive more revenue, to get more revenue for the government to run it? Is it because of we don't have enough infrastructure? What exactly is causing? Because I mean, the theme or the buzzword I've been hearing in many of the analysis that we've seen is they're trying to generate more revenue, overtaxing, inflated budget, frivolous spending. Why make all this money? Where's it going to?
Now, let me just give you an example which is relevant. The National Assembly, with the speed of light, passed the amendment bill that referred to the old national anthem. You know how much money that is going to be spent in all of the public documents at the state, at the federal, and the local government level. All of the public documents where they are going to replace and reprint these documents with the new national anthem that has been passed. The focus of the administration has always been in servicing the economy. And that's why the focus is on revenue generation. I think the major driver, and this is where government should be looking at, look, when you talk about the First Republic, which is the anthem which we used, you talk about the Ikeja Industrial Estate, you talk about the Lupeju Industrial Estate, you talked about Agbara Industrial Estate. All of those estates were established by the regional government. Now, 25 years down the line, under this democratic experience, I want anybody to point to me that these are the industrial estates from successive administration in the last 25 years, that these are the estates they've established. In the last 25 years, our sensitivity has been abused with infrastructure. What every government comes out to tell you and I is that we have built 100 kilometers of road, we have built this, we have done that infrastructure, we are getting money to build infrastructure.
So infrastructure?
It's infrastructure. That's been the focus. And it's just the ABC of public administration. It's just the 1, 2, 3. Anybody can build infrastructure. But a serious government will put in place policies that will drive the manufacturing sector. It is when we have the manufacturing sector that will drive the agriculture sector. Now, when we produce enough food in Nigeria, that we have enough food to eat in Nigeria, and we have much to export to other countries. When we produce goods in Nigeria, that we have enough to consume in Nigeria, and we push to other countries, that is what we drive the value of the naira compared to other currency. But here we have a service sector. Much naira is running after the dollar. There's no way. No matter which fiscal policy you put in place, naira will still be falling the way it's falling.
Jide, I do have to let you go, but very, very pertinent issues you raised there and very insightful contribution. Many thanks for coming on and thank you for doing this with us.
It's a pleasure to be with you always.
That's Jide Johnson, is a public affairs analyst. We move away now from politics and this time to labor matters. The Tripartite Committee on Minimum Wage has postponed its meeting indefinitely. Now, on Tuesday, during the meeting of the Tripartite Committee on Minimum Wage in Abuja, the federal government added 3,000 to its initial proposal of 57,000 minimum wage, and that's 50,000. I'll take that again. Apologies. 57,000 naira minimum wage, making it 60,000 naira. Organized labor comprising of the Trade Union Congress and the Nigerian Labour Congress also went down by 3,000 naira from its last proposal of 497,000 naira during the last minimum wage meeting. And on to crime matters. The Lagos State Police Command has arrested an online blogger, Stanley Okorowa, for allegedly defaming international businessman Emeka Okonkwo popularly known as E-Money. The suspect, who was paraded before newsmen at State Command Headquarters Ikeja, confessed to the crime and claimed to have used the offending video to boost his followership online. Now, Sally, in the said video, had accused the businessman of having illicit affairs with the wife of the late Nollywood star John Ndowundu, aka Junior Pope's wife. He also accused the businessman of being responsible for the death of the late Nollywood star, who died in a boat accident. The Lagos State Police Public Relations, and that says the PPRO SP Benjamin Udeyi, told newsmen that the suspects would be prosecuted for cyberbullying and defamation of character.
Out of trying to grow my page, I wasn't having any other bad intention to spoil Imoni's name. I was just making that video. I didn't even think the video would go to that extent. I know the video was very wrong for me to make such a video, but I didn't know the video was going to escalate to that extent. So I made everything in that video was not true. I've been praying to get this opportunity to say I'm very sorry to Sir Imoni. I didn't mean to tarnish his image. I didn't mean to spoil his name online.
Oh, definitely he's going to be prosecuted because the things he engaged in are criminal in nature and they have legal implications. So he's going to be prosecuted. He has defamed. That's an offense. He has also published false news about
And now let's head to South Africa, where elections are ongoing. And let's get more updates, from the country with our correspondent, Avuyile Sawela. He joins me live on video chat. Sawela, how are you doing? And where are you at the moment?
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I'm currently right now in Cape Town, the CBD, at the Civic Center, where, the queue is quite long and people are still waiting to cast their votes. So, yeah, I'm currently in Cape Town. It's been a long day of elections in South Africa and in the Western Cape at large. Obviously in the morning started at Edgemead, where the City of Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis was casting his vote, and then went on to Kraaifontein. And then I've been just spending the day here at the Civic Center, getting the thoughts of people that are going to be casting their votes and so forth.
And what we've been hearing from all of our correspondents is that the queues are long, the queues are long, the queues are long. From your own experience, is this by far the biggest turnout so far that you've seen? If you compare from 2019's election and this year's election?
The turnout is certainly, it's certainly bigger this year. I won't even lie about that. The turnout is amazing. At this particular place where I'm in, I actually want to paint a better picture for you. I'm at the Civic Center, but I want to switch my camera quickly and show you the long queues that are stretching from the Civic Center up until where the door for the voting is. If you can see properly, a lot of activity here, a lot of cars that are currently, moving around, and people coming in and out of the voting station. So, obviously it's closing at 9, but, for now, the queues are pretty much long, and it looks like it's going to be a long day / long night for many people who still want to cast their votes.
And is the queue because of the turnout, or because there's not enough electoral officials who are conducting the elections inside, just aiding the electorate to cast their votes as quickly as possible?
Well, in this particular area, the queues are long because of the turnout. As I've mentioned, I was at Edgemead earlier on. There we understood that the electronic systems that were being used were faulty, and they had to then move on to manual systems and use manual systems. Hence, the lines were a bit longer there. But here, the turnout is certainly ramped up after just 2 p.m. And people have come out in numbers. It looks like a lot of people had, confirmed that they wanted to come out a little bit in the afternoon. And certainly the queues are very much long. And the electronic systems seem to be working. The queues are long, but the people inside are working and the lines are moving along swiftly.
Avuyile, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you for doing this with us. We're going to continue to join you for more updates from where you were at, but thank you again. And now we switch gears now to Marcella, who's also in South Africa and is one of our correspondents. Marcella, thank you so much for coming on. But first, let's start. Where are you at the moment? Masala, we're having issues hearing you on your audio there. Masala, is there any way that you can fix your audio? You can help us to unmute so we can hear you. Masala, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you so much. Where are you at the moment? Let's start there.
Yeah, I'm in South Africa, Polokwane, Seshego, Zone 1, Mponegele, secondary primary school, where Julius Malema and his wife casted their vote. We arrived here before 9 o'clock early in the morning, but Julius Malema arrived at 12 p.m. South African time. But they took so long because he started the line at the bottom. He did not just enter and vote. He started the line at the bottom. Then he took 4 hours. He took 4 hours to get into the voting area.
Yeah.
To get the vote with his wife.
Masala, why is it taking so long? Because when I spoke to Sawela, he said the same thing, that the queues are very long. It looks like it's going to be a very long day plus night. And the IOE has said that, people who stay until 9 o'clock will be able to vote. But he alluded to something. He said that at first the electronic machines for voting got faulty and they had to switch to traditional form, which is the ballot paper. Is it the same where you're at the moment? Is it the same that's causing this issue and delay and the long queues?
Yeah. The reason why electronic devices were slow is because of network. The presiding officer spoke with us about the device and he said the network is not okay here in Seshego. That's why they caused the delay. That's why it was the delay for Malema to cast this vote. But now he casted his vote with his wife. Then they left. They left to another station. People came in numbers, and also they have said that they came in numbers to make some changes. I don't know which changes they want to make in South Africa, but they all of them, they are saying we want to change. We want to change. They are coming. They came in numbers. Now there are people who are chanting outside, but now I'm on the street just because they are making some noise. I'm on the street now.
Well, Masala, thank you so much. We'll definitely continue to follow as the elections continue in South Africa. But many thanks again.
Thanks.
I'll move away from that now, and this time an analysis of video and a review from explosive weapons experts have found the munitions made in the United States were used in the deadly Israeli strike on a displacement camp in Rafah on Sunday. At least 45 people were killed and more than 200 others injured after a fire broke out following the Israeli military strike on the outskirts of Gaza's southernmost city, most of them women and children. Footage obtained showed swaths of the camp in Rafah in flames with scores of men and women and children frantically trying to find a cover from the nighttime assault. Israel's escalating assault in Rafah, where some 1.3 million Palestinians were taking shelter before Israel began its operation there, has drawn swift international condemnation. And now for more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, thank you so much for coming. Is it a surprise that the camp was hit by a U.S.-supplied bomb?
Well, the U.S. has long been a really big supplier of weapons to Israel. Just last month, President Joe Biden signed off a package of a huge amount of money to the Israel-Gaza war, and most of that actually was spent on weapons. The foreign aid bill was worth $26 billion, and $15 billion of that $26 billion was in military aid. $9 billion was in humanitarian aid. And it's thought that these particular bombs, they're traditional GBU-39 warhead explosives that had 17 kilos of payload in them, are US made in factories in the United States. And those are the bombs. Fragments of them have been found in the wreckage in the camp in Rafah that caused that terrible, terrible fire that produced those terrible videos, those terrible images that we have been witnessing over the past 72 hours. So no, it's no surprise, I think, to anybody. There's definitely outrage around it, but there's no surprise that the bombs were used in this attack were US made and US provided.
Afia, many thanks. We appreciate you for just giving us more insight in this story. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu signs bill returning old Anthem into law. Meeting on new minimum wage postponed indefinitely. South Africa's vote in general elections. Now remember that you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen, and do follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.